Hi, it's Mike Paul here, episode 6 of How I Beat Cancer. I was really struggling for inspiration, sat at home to do this. I know it's been a week or two since I did the last episode. Struggling. Sometimes consistency's been a problem of mine over the years. But here we go. Decided to come out, go for a walk, get back to nature. Really lucky to have this West End of Newcastle near Denton Burn. I'll just give you a quick little whiz round. A great place. I come here in the mornings, do my Tai Chi. It's really comforting knowing that there's this big patch of green with trees, etc. Make me feel really good. So last time I talked about the book Anti-Cancer: A New Way of Life by Dr. David Servan-Schreiber, and how that transformed my view of what I could do to help myself. In the first few months, it was primarily the food I concentrated on, which I talked a bit about last time. That was the easy thing to get my head around. Makes intuitive sense. What you are, what you eat, the food you take in. They have a physical reality that can maybe change your body. And yes, that was the first bit that I could do, the easiest bit that I could do for that. Okay, I sort of feel like might be getting you a bit seasick here, so I'm just going to stop for a little while and stand here and chat with these trees behind me. It was during this time I was in hospital February 2009 to October 2009. I was basically there on and off for 4 months out of the 8 on my chemo regime. My cancer is very rare. It's a sarcoma of the sphenoid bone, but it's like not a real sarcoma, or it's a malignant fibrous histiocytoma. So basically a bucket list for cancers I don't really fully understand. But what I was told, and the research I'd done, was the two key things that made me take the approach I did. One, that this cancer had the best chance of getting rid of it was hitting me with everything that they could hit me with during this treatment period. So that would be chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and it was a very strong regime of chemotherapy with doxorubicin, cisplatin and high dosage methotrexate, and to essentially give me my lifetime supply of chemotherapy in the hope of knocking the tumour out. So what does lifetime supply mean? Essentially that I can't have that chemo again, because in all likelihood, at the very least, it would do me serious miscarriage and may even kill me. The second bit of information about that is that my type of cancer, certainly sarcomas in the limbs, have a very high reoccurrence rate. So what does that mean? The treatment they've given me I could only take once, but there was a very good chance that this cancer would come back. So when I understood that, that's when I started searching for alternative ways of dealing with cancer or preventing cancer, because I basically had to give myself a safety net for once treatment had finished. I fully intended to take every aspect of the treatment that I could get to give myself the best chance of killing the tumour. But I also needed to know that there was something else outside of conventional medicine that could keep me safe in the long run. So this was where my views on health started changing, where I started discovering new, different, exciting but troubling stuff at the same time. So yeah, during this year I started that research. Just going to change hands here. So what did that mean? I did all sorts of research on the internet. It didn't really crystallize till later on down the line. And research on the internet was a frustrating business, because you would find something that sounded fantastic, you'd look at it, but within 10 minutes you'd find something that would say totally the opposite. So this was really frustrating. I'll get back to how I decided on my eventual alternative route later, but during my chemotherapy as well, I got what was, well, it was bad news. It was not good news. The doctors thought that my chemotherapy wasn't working. They'd thought about changing my protocol, but they believed they were giving me the best that they could. So they then thought they saw that some changes, etc. So it was all really unsure. So mentally during this period was really difficult and stressful, and these communications with the consultants I found really difficult. So despite the fact that I was looking after my food and everything, quite often I would end up going downstairs, getting a big bag of pick and mix, come back upstairs and watch hours and hours of 24, totally wired, ploughing sugar down me, and staying up till 5-6 in the morning trying to get rid of the adrenaline, but just fueling it by watching 24 and feeding myself sugar over and over. What that does go to show me that eventually actually sugar didn't kill me, so it's maybe not the villain it was made out to be, or has been made out to be. However, still something I believe is worth monitoring and not overindulging in. So what did this mean about radiotherapy? Well, during this time as well, I was researching the type of radiotherapy I could have because of where my tumour is. And essentially, if you draw a line through my nose to the back of the head, and from temple to temple, there's a big bone that goes through there called the sphenoid bone, which is sort of butterfly shaped and has chambers called sinuses in there. The nerves from the brain come through to the face, also arteries that carry blood to the brain go through it. So my two optical nerves, the crossover of those is smack bang in the middle of my tumour. So surgery was not an option. Again, I was told it would likely kill me rather than fix me. And radiotherapy had its dangers. Now, for my cancer, the likelihood of success with radiotherapy was predicated on the success of the chemotherapy. So my radiotherapy consultant didn't think that there was a lot of hope in that sense, because they didn't believe my chemotherapy was working. However, also because of where my tumour was, I fought for ages for a very accurate type of chemotherapy called proton beam therapy, which as of that time wasn't available in this country, but you could be funded to go to Germany or possibly the US. I fought for weeks, if not months, to get that, because of my fears of where my tumour was and not wanting to get my brain fried. My consultant wasn't too helpful with that, but the proton therapy beam board, who turned down my application, actually got me to talk to another consultant down in Cambridge, who suggested actually what was available in Newcastle was better for my tumour. And the description made perfect sense. My tumour was fluffy, spread out over lots of different bits. The proton beam therapy was good for tumours with very neat, defined edges. But the tomotherapy available in Newcastle, actually far better for being able to accurately target in 3D my tumour. So I was happy I signed up for it. I say happy, that's maybe an overstatement. Went through the making of the mask, which was actually quite good fun. Hopefully I'll see if I can put some photos up of that. The the mask was basically, because of the tumour being in my head and all the delicate structures in there, to administer the radiotherapy, your head has to be held bolt still. So what they do is they make a plastic mask and bolt it to a table, so that when you're there, you cannot move your head. Quite scary for some people, the thought of claustrophobia, but actually I found that bit quite enjoyable. So I signed up. There was an issue that the radiotherapy consultant needed to talk to me about regarding my optical nerves and my tumour. So there's a radiotherapy gives a cumulative dose of x-rays, for want of a better word, of radiotherapy to try and kill the tumour. And now they know that for my tumour, 60 grays, which are the units of radiotherapy, were needed to give the best chance of killing my tumour. My optical nerves, though, smack bang in the middle of the tumour, 54 grays is the maximum safe amount to give them. So I had a decision to make. The tomotherapy, very, very accurate and very programmable, and they said that they could actually program the machine to give my optical nerves 54 grays and the rest of the tumour 60 grays, with the exception of a small margin around the optical nerves to ensure that they were totally safe. Or I could have 60 grays and ensure and give myself the best chance of killing the tumour, because if I had some at 54, that meant that the tumour might not die. I signed up for the 60. I thought, what the heck, I want to live, I want the best chance of this tumour going. And that was it. Signed all the papers, and this was the week before I was due to start treatment. And then I went home, and Michelle, who'd been with me, my ex-wife, at the meeting, she came home with me. She went to work and I was on my own. The reason, one of the reasons I'd signed up for the 60 was actually because that's what I thought. It was sort of what I thought I wanted, but I also believe that that's what everyone else would expect me to go for, that I had to take every possible measure, and that's because what the doctors were saying, that's what my family would think and my friends would think. I hadn't really appreciated Michelle's uneasiness in the meeting and her questions about what would happen if I didn't have the radiotherapy. We did ask about the optic nerves. So what happens if I take 60? What are the possible outcomes of that? And it was basically potential blindness, total, complete, utter blindness, because the optic nerves would be dead if that died. The bizarre thing about that was that it could take apparently any time up to 2 years for that to happen, and I was cheerfully told by the consultant, but you may be dead by then anyway, so it's maybe not as big as a concern as you think. Great. So this meeting was quite a stressful time. Michelle was very, very upset. I was upset, but putting on a brave face. I got back, I went to the gym, and I joked about with my friend Colin of Try It Gym about the two of us entering tandem bike riding competitions, and he could be my seeing partner, stuff like that. But as I spent more time on my own and I went for a walk and stuff like that, I realised I might not be able to do this if I'm blind. How does that work? I'd need a guide dog. I wouldn't be able to drive. I just really, and at the age of 43, that was really, I didn't know how to contemplate it. And this panic grew within me. Sorry, it's bringing back some memories. And yeah, this panic grew within me, and on the Monday, I believe, or the Tuesday, it was a Monday, no, it was Tuesday, sorry, I rang Michelle up and I said, that cancer support group that patient told me about, I need to go tonight, you have to come home now, because I don't think I can do the radiotherapy. Michelle, she came back and we went to the support group, and I was in a state actually, I thought I'd got over all of this. There's obviously a lot still in there. Sorry. I got to the meeting, and the people there could see that I was in a state, and they have some alternative therapists there, and the woman running the meeting basically said, she asked me what my name is, said, look, you need to go and see this person now, you're in obvious need, we've all had our go, so you go now and see this man. And I went in, lo and behold, it was someone I'd met before. It was a man called Andy Hunt, an EFT practitioner, emotional freedom technique. I'd been introduced to him on a NLP course which I'd taken during my chemotherapy, and so it was nice to see a welcome face. Emotional freedom technique is based around affirmations and tapping on acupressure points based on the Chinese acupuncture maps. I had heard of it before, and I was skeptical when I'd heard about it before. I didn't want to believe in it. It just didn't make sense to me. However, at this stage, I was willing to give anything and everything a go. And I needed to make a decision about whether to go ahead with this radiotherapy, which I didn't want to, but felt I should. So Andy sat me down, and we spent an hour going through the technique. He asked questions, we would then tap on it. This is also known as tapping, and I would tap on my feelings. Anxiety, 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 anxiety. I'm going to go around, and there are a few more points that you tap on, and a few other things you do. By the end of the hour, I was a changed person. I was as cool as a cucumber. I had a plan of action in my head. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I came out of the meeting, I asked them what they knew about the Penny Brown Centre, which was a centre I knew that dealt with some complementary therapies. I had a number. I went home the next day, I phoned them, I asked for any research and stuff that they had. I did a bit more research on the therapies that I'd already looked at, and I came to a decision about what I was going to do. And I went to arranged an appointment with my radiotherapy consultant. Explained that due to the risks, to my blindness, to my eyes, to my pituitary gland, which would have got totally destroyed, meaning I'd be on hormone replacement therapy for the rest of my life for everything in my body, and what he had considered the low chances of long-term success of the treatment anyway, that I decided to go a different route. He didn't really understand. He could sort of see the stuff about the blindness, didn't understand my fears about the pituitary gland, and his parting comment was, it's a shame because it's a very interesting technical case. I'll let you guys ponder that comment. So that was the next chapter. So going back to EFT, I now know a lot more about it, and I'm actually a level 1 practitioner myself, so I do use it on myself and have used it since, and it played a big part during my time with cancer. There is a scientific basis behind it for those of you who need that. So I would highly recommend for all sorts of things. It's not going to cure you of cancer, but it is an excellent way of looking at reducing the stresses in our life and how we perceive the things that are challenging us. Andy is an incredibly skilled practitioner at this. I ended up doing a cancer, a free course he did for cancer patients with it, and it was a tremendous help, and has also helped both me and Michelle since then. So I'll put links to information about EFT in the notes, and also to Andy and his site. And Andy, I don't know whether you'll get to see this, but I know I have said thank you to you again, but I am saying here thank you to you, Andy Hunt, in public on the internet, because you are definitely one of the people who helped save my life. So thank you. I think I'm going to call it a day for that episode there. It's just 20 minutes. In the next one, I'll get on to the protocol I chose, and the protocol that started redefining how I looked at health and illness as well. And that's the Budwig protocol. I hope you enjoy this. This was more of the storytelling, but there are a couple of vital bits of information in there. Thank you very much. This is Mike Paul. Bye.